Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Divine Feminine Healers podcast. It is Angelica here, spiritual business owner and intuitive healer. And we're going to get all into what this full moon eclipse energy was all about. It was a very powerful closure of eclipse season, the last one of the year. And I want to bring all the support and insights as to what is going on right now because a lot of change is happening. Now, before we get into that, I have a few announcements. We just finished our live version of the Vata Masterclass for spiritual entrepreneurs. This gives you an hour and a half of recommendations on how to organize, ground, and focus your business. So if you've been feeling very flighty, almost like your wheels are spinning in your business, like you're constantly putting forth effort and energy, but it feels like you're not getting anywhere, you're kind of feeling stuck, this masterclass is for you. We're going to really clarify on why that is, understand the root of this issue from the Ayurvedic perspective, and then I give you very tangible and real action steps on how to meet your goals and close out the year of 2023 feeling very successful and, most importantly, consistent in your business. So the link to sign up for that is in the show notes, and you can receive immediate access once you get that link. And with the masterclass, you also receive one-on-one email support with me. So you get to share with me a lot of your insights that you get from class, and then we can work with your business and make sure that you feel really set and grounded to finish out the year. Another fun announcement for those who are living in Los Angeles, I am beyond excited. We are going to be leading our first live in-person Ayurvedic dinner party this Saturday, November 4th in Silver Lake. This is a 4-course meal that I have intentionally curated to be all year around Vata season. So each dish is super nourishing and grounding to combat all the flighty, overwhelming, dry qualities that we're experiencing in nature right now. So I'm going to give you just a sneak little peek of the menu because I was so excited. And I'm partnering with Just Grit from Inner Garden to create this beautiful evening. And I'm so grateful for her insights and her wisdom here. She creates her own meals in which she serves others and locally sources everything, tries to get organic when possible. And we are doing the same with this 4-course meal. So appetizers is an aptogenic ghee stuffed dates. I mean, literally this alone, I could die happy from. I'm so excited. Just Grit is actually making the ghee homemade, and she charged it on the full moon and putting in all these superfoods into it to make it super yummy and delicious. And dates are just like the perfect thing for Vatas, especially if you're feeling dry, bloating, and having constipation. That will ease it completely. We are also going to have Onda oil infused roasted root vegetables. So we are partnering with a regenerative farmer, and he makes his own hemp oil, and we're going to infuse that into this roasted vegetable medley as our appetizer. For entrees, we are going to have a dosha bar, and you get to dress up your main meal, which is khichdi, and you are going to do it based on your dosha. So you can put whatever toppings are perfect for your body type so that it truly feels so nourishing and balancing for you. And for dessert, we are going to have pumpkin spice cacao pudding. Oh my gosh, I'm literally so excited for this whole entire meal. You're also going to have a chai welcome tonic, herbal mocktails throughout the evening, so many other fun, mindful surprises, and you're going to walk away with a mini self-care Ayurvedic bag. So for those who are in LA, you do not want to miss this. It's literally going to be one of my favorite evenings of all time. I've been trying to curate this for the longest time. You can find out more about the event and sign up with the link in the show notes. There's just a few tickets left, so by the time this episode comes out, it may be sold out, but there's still time. Definitely snag your tickets. Okay, let's get into today's episode, talking about the full moon solar eclipse. So when we talk about eclipse season starts with the first eclipse, which is the lunar one that happened on the new moon, and it closes when we have the full moon and the solar eclipse. Now, eclipse season is a time where there can be a lot of change and transformation. For some of us, it can actually feel like, whoa, my outer world is changing so rapidly, I can't even keep up. And for a lot of us, it's just going to feel like our inner world is changing really rapidly. Either way, the vibe of eclipse season is to slow down, do your grounding rituals, and tend to your spiritual practices so that you don't miss all the insights that are coming. When we ground in eclipse season, we can actually receive some of our greatest insights ever during this time. especially during this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere where we're in the fall season. The fall is a very important time because it represents death in nature. As we start to see the leaves start to change colors and to fall from the trees, we also see this happening in humanity. A lot of souls choose to leave the physical reality during the month of October going into November because, quote unquote, the veil is thin. This is when the spiritual world and the physical world are very closely tied together. So you may have been noticing your dreams have been very on point lately. Maybe you've been getting a lot of your messages from your ancestors. Maybe you have been experiencing a lot of deaths, either with people who have physically left this world, or if you've been having your own little mini ego deaths. All of this is characterized during eclipse season. And I really love this time. I love transformation. It's part of me having a moon in Scorpio that I think that that is just always what I strive for, is to constantly acknowledge when something is dying and to really be with that grief and to be honest and let it go so that it can create space for new beginnings. Truly, that's how evolution really happens, is when we're able to really be so grateful for everything that has happened in our life and be okay shedding that identity and shedding that layer so that we can start fresh and start with a very new beginning. Now, I know that all sounds really amazing, and sometimes it doesn't always feel that amazing. Sometimes it could really feel like the rug's being pulled out from underneath us. Sometimes those deaths can feel so intertwined to our identity that we feel completely lost and confused and in grievance. So whatever you're feeling, I want you to totally feel that and have that be your experience. And then also hold with you this perspective that there is a higher reason for all of this happening. There always is. And you can take your time, as much time as you need, until you can come to that realization. Now, what I love doing on the full moon and the new moon is a ceremony. That's why I created my beautiful community, is to create a ceremony where we all can come together as like-minded conscious beings and realize just how similar our experiences are. Collectively, we go through a lot of similar things at the similar times because we are so connected to nature. We are so connected to God, universe, whatever you would like to call it. And in these ceremonies, you can really start to go inward and see, okay, what it wants to be released. What am I creating space for? So I have a few questions for you, journal prompts for this moon, for this full moon, a solar eclipse. So if you would like to do a little mini ceremony right now, you can grab your journal and your pen. And if you want to wait to do it for later, you can just pause this and come back to it. So this full moon, and of course I follow Vedic astrology, so this is what we're going to follow. This full moon was in Aries, specifically in the nakshatra of Ashwini. Now Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is very much to do with desire and passion, getting things started, new beginnings, and also manifestation. So again, we're seeing a lot of this theme of death and rebirth, closings and endings, and new beginnings. Now, what also is happening astrologically is the north node and the south node of the moon, which we basically consider as planets in astrology because those specific calculations are so poignant for us as humans. Especially as healers and highly sensitive beings, we really relate to the energy of the moon. That's why I follow the shades of the moon. I have a tattoo of the moon on the back of my arm to remind me that I am the mother, the intuitive. I'm so deeply connected to my emotions. So the North Node and the South Node are actual calculations. And in Vedic astrology, we call the North Node Rahu, we call the South Node Ketu. Well, it just so happens around this full moon on October 30th, those signs, after being in the sign Rahu in Aries and Ketu in Libra for the past 18 months, they are shifting. Again, we're seeing a very much of a theme of closings and new beginnings. So the last time that the North Node and South Node shifted was May of 2022. So I implore you all to look back at your journals or your iPhotos or your Instagram and see what was the energy of that time of year for you. What was going on right now? And what were all those lessons that you learned from May 2022 to right now? What cycles are you officially closing the door on? And how is this creating more space for beginnings? Well, in particularly how I have observed Rahu and Aries and Ketu and Libra, it was very much about personal boundaries. And then, of course, boundaries in relationships to others and stepping into our power. May of 2022, my life was crazy. I was going through a huge tower moment. If anyone's been following me since that time, I previously was in a business partnership, and that was the month where we dissolved our business. And I made the brave, bold, and terrifying decision to go off on my own and restart my own LLC. It was chaos for me during that month. There was so much moving pieces and happenings and talking with lawyers and getting the logistics done. And then at the same time, I had to run this business because this is what I've done for full time for the past 5 years. So I needed to keep that engine running. And I was working day and night to keep everything afloat. And it was a lot and it was overwhelming. But what I loved about that time was I learned so much of what I was capable of. The reason why, there's a lot of reasons why, but a huge reason why I needed to move away from that partnership was because I was caught in a codependent relationship where I felt like I couldn't handle certain aspects of my business. I felt that I wasn't capable of them, things like logistics and finances and budgeting, which is funny because I'm a marketing business major. But because I have been so connected to the creative and artist side of me, I thought that I had to deny that I could actually desire and love that part of me that does like the business side to it. So I gave away my power and thought that I could never do any of that on my own, which is a huge reason why I started that partnership in the first place. But as we know, what we ignore will always persist. What we resist will always persist. So, because I was resisting really stepping up to my fullest potential in that way in my business, it came knocking on my door super, super hard until I had no other decision but to take that leap of faith. And in this process, starting in May, I learned all those aspects of my business all on my own, and I have never been more proud of myself. It was hard. It was like digging through the mud. It was doing a marathon. It was all the things that are uncomfortable that I wanted to get out of. But I literally forced myself to sit down at the computer and learn these things no matter how long they took. And after, I was just like, I felt so incredible. I felt like I had truly completed a marathon. And what was even better was that it started to mirror in my outer world. My followers and my clients skyrocketed. My programs were brought to life again. I was brought to life again with my own healing journey. Everything changed. And it was really about me stepping into my power. So I love closing out this cycle with this Rahu and Ketu shift of really honoring all the changes and all the ways in which I stepped up in my business. And yeah, just sharing my personal story and where I've been with that. So if you relate to any of that, of personal boundaries and how you stepped in your power in these past 18 months, whether it felt like a huge leap of faith like mine, or whether it felt a little more subtle, take time to really acknowledge that ending and that beginning. Okay, so let's get into some journal prompts. So, where have you been loose on your personal boundaries lately? Where have you been leaking your energy? This is what this full moon is really about. I know for myself, I've been a little bit loose on a lot of those boundaries that I had set when I first started my business again. I was like, okay, I got to do everything. I got to be up and at 'em. And I kind of been a little bit lenient. So I love talking about personal boundaries first before we talk boundaries with relationship to other people, because that's always going to be the same mirror. It's always going to be the same structure. So I've been working on getting my eating habits involved again, cleaning up diet again, focusing on my rituals and routines again. And that has felt so great and feeling like I'm getting back my power. So make sure you're really clear on where you've been kind of leaking your energy and where you can tighten up those boundaries. My second question is, what are your top 3 strongest desires in your life right now? And how are they related to your boundaries? So Aries is all about desires, and this is all about new beginnings. So what do you really desire in this life? What do you want to create? Is this a goal that's been on your plate for like years and years? How is this related to your boundaries? How is your personal relationship to yourself affecting you actually bringing your desires into fruition? This part is so key. And when we shared about this in our community, I love that each person in my community said, I am the one who's been holding me back. You really begin to realize, wow, I can take full responsibility for all my actions. There's no shame in the game for what you have done. I certainly have self-sabotaged myself a lot and gotten away from the plot multiple times. But just taking that responsibility of, okay, because I did those action steps, this is why I'm here right now. That is acceptance, that is surrender, and that brings you back onto the path again. So, what are your top 3 desires right now? And the next question is, what does stepping into your power look like as you close this year? So, part of manifestation is visualization and being able to see what your future self is really like. What does it look like when you actually get those desires? Can you really see yourself there? And this is what's really important too, because as you see yourself with that success, you're a new identity. You are not the same person you were before. And that's because it's an accrual of your new habits, rituals, and routines. So, really paint that picture of what this new person looks like stepping into their power. What are your habits, what it looks like from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. The last question is, what is holding you back from bringing your desires into your physical reality? So, what is truly holding you back? And truly, what my community members have been finding is having loose personal boundaries and the relationship to self can really hold them back in these areas. And it can be so minute. It can just be scrolling through Instagram, which feels like, okay, whatever, it's not that much time out of my day. But just by being really specific in your energy and focusing it and not leaking it in areas that it doesn't need to, that is when your desires really come to fruition because you're devoted. The universe is like, whoa, they're so focused on this right now. They're putting all their energy. I'm going to mirror that back to them and I'm going to vibrate their desires back to them and show them what happens when you truly commit and devote yourself. So this was definitely a little cleanup cycle of getting really clear on your desires, what you want to complete for the rest of the year, getting a little bit of an insight into what that looks like and feels like for you, and getting really strong and secure in your boundaries. Again, no shame. I've definitely gotten away from my boundaries as of late, and it feels good to kind of do this reorganization and focusing my energy yet again. Now, what I also love about this time of year is, as I mentioned, this is a time to really honor the dead and our ancestors. We see this in so many cultures. We have Dios de los Muertos, we have Samhain in the pagan traditions, we have Halloween in the Western, which is, its own thing. um, but it's a time that we could really honor the death cycle. So, in my ceremony, I have been really bringing in my ancestors and those that I feel around me and guiding me. And the veil is so thin, like I feel them so closely. They've been sending me so many messages. I have very clear messages that I ask them to send me when they're in my vicinity, when they're telling me that I'm on the right path. And it's been so beautiful to recognize that and to have that closeness. At the same time, my dreams are always crazy, but they get even crazier during this time of year because that's a huge reason on how my guides send me their messages. So if you've been having really wild dreams, if you've been feeling like you've been getting all those spiritual messages lately, know that you're supported and honor your ancestors in some way. Maybe give them a food offering on your altar. Maybe just say a prayer. You can give Reiki energy. There's truly no rhyme or reason, but just honoring them and giving that nod that you see them and you're so grateful for them is just a beautiful ritual to do around this time of year. And that brings you more abundance because your guides are your ancestors. They're the ones who are helping you and supporting you and bringing your beautiful desires into life. And one final thing I'll say on the full moon eclipse, in my ceremony, I always give individualized readings for the women in my ceremony and what messages came through from their guides. And a collective message that came through was a lot of them stepping into their power. Every woman in my community is either starting their spiritual business or on the antithesis of starting their spiritual business, wanting to bring their intuitive gifts to life. And all the messages were around that. They were all around that this is a time when you really are stepping into your power, acknowledging your gifts and bringing them into fruition. So if you're listening to this and thinking and doubting if that is your next step, the fact that you have that desire planted within you tells you that it is, that you have every capacity to bring this to life. And that is truly what I have been so honored to guide my people through for these past couple of years, specifically honing in on their business and being able to bring it to life. Now, if these ceremonies sound like something that you really want to do and you want to be around a group of women who is starting their own spiritual business, who understands these deep levels of the subconscious mind and healing, our community is the most supportive. I am offering a free ceremony this month to those who would like to join us. My membership is by invite only. However, for this month, I wanted to invite those who are interested into our ceremony as my guest. and to see if this feels supportive for your healing journey and for your entrepreneur journey. And then after that, for those who really vibrate and we're on the same level, you can receive an invitation and you can join our membership and receive all these intuitive messages and tools on a regular basis. So if you would like to join one of my ceremonies as my guest, you may email me at angelica@angelicarosemary.com. I will have that also linked in the show notes. That is all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for listening. If you love this episode, please share it with a friend or a family member who would love it too. And I would adore you if you commented, rated, and reviewed on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I do this podcast because I want to connect with you all. That is my favorite thing to do. So please comment, rate, and review. I would love to hear from you. I hope you all have the most beautiful full moon solar eclipse. Take some time to ground, tend to your spiritual practices, and I'll see you all next time.